Yo, what's going on, guys? posiosnow here, bringing you episode 3 of the Modern Warfare 3 in-depth gun reviews, and today, by popular choice, we are reviewing the PP90M1. Now, you guys were really diverse with your votes. I mean, you guys were voting for things like the MSR, AK-47, ACR. It was really all over the place this week, but I think overall in the end the PP90 won, so we're going to be reviewing that this week. And without further ado, let's get started on our review. So moving on to the stats of the gun, the PP90 is unlocked level 28, which is I guess kind of early in your prestige, and if you want to get a gold gun with the PP90, it's going to be pretty easy before you get to your level 80 and you might want to prestige. Your magazine size is going to be pretty awkward as far as numbering. It is at 36 rounds per magazine. If you want to increase it to 54, I would suggest using the extended magazines attachment. The aim down sight speed is pretty standard at 0.2 seconds, and you can increase this to 0.1 seconds by using the quick draw perk. And the reload speed is kind of long, but at the same time very awkward again in the numbering. I don't know what it is. At 3.03 seconds, and if you want to increase this to about 1.5 seconds, I would use Sleight of Hand as your first tier perk. Now, the rate of fire on the PP90 is really what makes it stand out from all the other guns, being at 1,000 rounds per minute, which is very, very high for guns just in general. And this can even be increased to 1,250 if you use the rapid fire attachment with the gun, making it an overall beast in close quarter situations. Now quickly moving on to the damage statistics of the PP90, you're going to notice that it's pretty similar to that of the UMP45. Instead of 49 damage up close, however, the PP90 has a 42 damage up close, still making it a 3-hit kill. And from a far distance, you're going to notice a 17 damage, which makes it a 6-hit kill from a distance. Now, some of the things that can affect this would be either the silencer or the range proficiency on the gun. The silencer making the damage drop at a considerably quicker rate. However, the range proficiency makes the damage drop from a larger distance, making it easier to get 3 to 2 to 4 hit kills from a longer distance than if you did not use the range proficiency. Some other things that can affect how many kills or how many bullets it takes to get a kill with the PP90 would be whether or not you get a headshot. And the way this works is if you get a headshot with the PP90, it actually multiplies whatever damage output that originally it gets to 1.2 of what the original damage would be, making it a possibility of 2-hit kill from up close and a 5-hit kill from a distance. And now the final thing before we get into the video, real life statistic thing, whatever it would be, is the sights. Now personally, I'm not one for using artificial sights such as the red dot or the holographic, the hammer scope or whatever it is. But for the PP90, I really don't like the iron sights, but I never really found myself like, oh, you know, I would have gotten that kill if I had a red dot sight on or something like that. Honestly, like, I would not use an artificial sight on this gun, but at the same time, I would be a bit weary as to the iron sights in this gun, and I would only use this gun in close quarter situations, and in that situation, I would honestly just recommend hip firing. So, yeah, the one thing about this gun that you're not going to like, most likely, would be the iron sights. So keep an eye out for that when you're using this gun. So this section of the video is going to be devoted to figuring out how the PP90 works when hip fired and how the PP90's recoil works with and without the kick proficiency. So a couple of things that we're going to be looking at is the steady aim perk versus not the steady aim perk. That's an interesting phrasing there. And how the kick proficiency affects the PP90's recoil. So first, we're going to be using the PP90 without the kick, or with the kick proficiency, and we're just going to be firing right at this wall and looking for some of the recoil patterns. And the first thing, and probably one of the main things that we're going to notice, is that the PP90's recoil is extremely sporadic and very unreliable, even compared to the UMP45, which in the last video, I did say that it was very unreliable as far as recoil. But if you notice, where I just shot with my pistol was where I intentionally aimed all 3 of my magazines, and you're going to notice that the recoil and the bullets just go everywhere around that area. And if you're not comfortable with like putting your fingers on the thumbsticks and keeping the bullets going where you want them to go, such weapons as the PP90 are going to be very uncomfortable for you to use in long-range encounters. So now we're going to be looking at the gun with without the kick proficiency. We're going to be using the stability proficiency, which is probably second best on this gun, and we're going to notice that there is pretty much little to no change as far as recoil. There is a little bit farther out as in situations like you're noticing now where it kind of goes sideways a little bit more, or goes down or up a little bit more, but generally very similar. And even considering this, I would still suggest using the kick proficiency on the PP90 for one reason, and pretty much one reason only, is that the recoil is uncomfortable as is, and you're not going to want to dig yourself a deeper hole and make it even more uncomfortable for you to use this gun. So for that reason, I would suggest using the kick proficiency, just because it's just not comfortable using the gun already, and there's no point in making it less comfortable for you to use. So now on to the second section, where we hip fire the guns at a wall and look for the spray and pretty much how condensed the bullets are. And for from the first, second, and third clips, we're going to notice one trend, is that the hip fire on the PP90 is very condensed, even considering the 1,000 rounds per minute rate of fire on the gun, which is even more than any gun that you're going to find in the game. And even so, it's very condensed and very powerful in close quarter situations. So one thing that you can take away is that the PP90, even not using the steady aim perk, is going to be very, very powerful in close quarter situations. And the following statistic can be even emphasized if you are using the steady aim perk, when we're going to see here me steady aim hip firing at the wall. 1 second. There we go. So I'm hip firing at the wall right now, and we're going to notice that the bullets are super condensed, even considering the 1,000 round per minute output. And generally this gun at this point becomes one of the most powerful hip-fire guns, pretty much like the FMG9 pre-patch. It's very, very powerful if you're hip-firing the gun, and it can even be powerful in mid-range situations. So now, using what we've learned from the recoil and hip-fire statistics, we're going to be looking at some things that you might want to do as far as perks, attachments, and maps using the gun. So without further ado, let's go on to some suggestions with the PP90. So first of all, we're going to be looking at some of the maps that you might want to use with the PP90. So, the first thing really that I would like to say is that this gun is very versatile, and you can pretty much use it on every single map in the game. But considering that the recoil is very unreliable, and considering that the hip fire on the gun is very powerful, I would really suggest to sticking with this gun in close quarters maps such as Dome, Arcadon, Hard Hat, what else would there be? Mission is a pretty close quarter map. Some things like that I would really like using this gun on, just because when you run into close quarter situations with people, you can mow them down and they wouldn't even know what happened to them until they look at the kill feed. Once again, I would not use this gun on some maps such as Interchange, unless you know your flanking routes and you use a silencer and like Assassin or stuff like that. Otherwise, I would just stick to like close quarters maps such as the ones I named previously. Now on to the last section of the video, which is some suggestions that I would give for using perks and attachments with the gun PP90. So first, we're going to go on to the attachments. Some attachments that I would use with the PP90. Really, I don't diversify myself with this gun as much as I do with other guns. I've gotten this gun in gold in 2 different prestiges twice. And the one attachment that I continuously use with the PP90 non-stop is the suppressor or the silencer, and I really didn't stray away from that much. Some other attachments that I might sometimes use just to not get bored with it from using the same gun over and over and over again would be using the extended mags attachment, just because sometimes I play ground war and I want multiple people in one clip, and if you reload, as many people know, reloading in the middle of ground war usually gets you killed. So if you want to be able to kill a lot of people with one clip, extended mags would be really helpful with the PP90. And the last attachment that I would really suggest using with the PP90 is the rapid fire, because as we've covered, the PP90 has an extremely high rate of fire. And if you want to emphasize on that and you're on a really close quarters map situation, the rapid fire can pretty much be the most dominant perk in this gun. But I personally use the silencer just because I'm a very stealthy person and I know my way around a lot of the flanks and I do a lot of free-for-all. So that stealth aspect of the silencer really helps me out. So now on to some of the perks that I would suggest using with this gun. And for the first tier perk, unlike a lot of the other guns, there are really two that I'm split between. One being sleight of hand, because as we've covered, this gun has a very slow reload time, slower than a lot of the other SMGs in the game. But the second perk that I would like to use would be Scavenger, because with the high rate of fire, you have pretty much the same exact amount of rounds in your stockpile, so you're going to need that extra ammo. So if you are using the Specialist Killstreak, I would suggest putting on Sleight of Hand as your original perk, and I would suggest using Scavenger as like your third Specialist unlock, or your second Specialist unlock, just to be able to have extra ammunition in your PP90, because you're going to need it if you're going to be living long lives with it. As your second tier perk, I would suggest using a quick draw, because if you're going to be using this map in close this gun in close quarters maps, I almost really mixed that up. Sometimes getting the first shot on the person means life or death. And if you're in a medium range situation, it's pretty important to aim down sight. And getting the first shot on person and aiming down sight are they correlate to each other very often. So quick draw would emphasize on the quick aim down sight on the SMGs, and therefore being able to kill that person that you are trying to get quicker than that other person can kill you. As the third tier perk, really one stands out amongst all the rest would be Steady Aim, because once again, as we've covered, the high rate of fire on the PP90 makes it an extremely powerful hip-fired gun, and an extremely powerful hip-fired gun becomes even more powerful if you use Steady Aim, just to condense those bullets and get them to where you want to go. But that's pretty much it for this video. Once again, if you guys have any suggestions for any future episodes, please say so in the comment section below, or as a private message, or over PSN, or wherever you guys want to tell me. And the most voted on gun will be the one that we cover in the next week's episode. But that's pretty much it, guys. posiosnow out. Peace, and make sure to stay tuned for some videos that you might have missed, and go check out some of my previous episodes, including the MP7 and the UMP45. That's pretty much it, guys. posiosnow out.